And so let me just sum up that Mick Fleming has a platform to look at America, to look at how our nation is changing. And so it's in that role that we invited Mr. Fleming to come and share his perspective, not about what we are doing, but what we are doing as a nation. The headline of his most recent publication says, "Transforming the Chamber Model from Fairs and Festivals to a Focus on the Future." And that's why we're here, to focus on the future. And so I, like you, look forward to hearing from Mick Fleming, the CEO of the American Chambers of Commerce Executives. Come on up, Mick.
Gee, I feel so special. It's great to be here. Jacob is my mentor. When I got into the ACCE leadership role in 2001, the very first meeting that I went to was in Toronto, and the first person at the table to come in and actually give me any real advice was Jacob when he was crazy, not when he was such a visionary mentor. He was still crazy in those days, and he told me something that a few months ago I reminded his successor of. And I told Leslie about Jacob's great line to me. He said, "Mick, as you take over this job, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to, for a while, you're going to have to balance between being out and about or down and in." And it was the best advice that I got, and it made a huge difference. So thank you, partner. You know, I travel all around the country. I do, I'm about 90 nights a year out wandering around, listening to people and going to functions. Not nearly as exciting as this one. A lot of them are like a board retreat in Mankato is, the kind of stuff you have to do in February. It's not as much fun, but it's great stuff. And I do wander all around. I saw Ray Sanfratello here, who's from a nearby chamber, and he and I go back at old New York days. And I used to travel around a lot when I worked in New York State. I was kind of the grassroots lobbying specialist for the Business Council. I traveled all over the state, and it's a big state. I mean, it's 8-9 hours across, so it's a big state. And I would go everywhere. And there was one year we were working on workers' comp, and I had to go to 100 locations. Every time there were 2 or more gathered, there I would be, right? I mean, I had to talk in workers' comp, every place I went. I had the same speech, stump speech with the slides, the whole thing. And I did so many for this one section of time during the legislative session that I actually ended up having a driver assigned to me, Chucky, who was this retired state cop. And Chucky would drive me around and everything. We're up in Malone, New York, next stop Canada, all right? And we're up in this little town, and we go in and meet with a bunch of business people and other people in the community to talk about workers' comp. So we're on our way into the thing, and Chucky says to me, "Mick, I can't do it. I can't do another one. I've heard this so many times." He said, "I think I could do this speech." And so I said, "Go for it. They don't know me, they don't know you, go for it." So Chucky goes in and does the speech. He's fantastic. He does every slide, every word perfect. The slides progress. He does a fantastic job. And he only had one problem. He did it too fast. There were time for questions. So in the middle of the thing, in the middle of the room, this woman raises her hand and says, "So how are you going to handle the problem of these clinics and the quality of care in the clinics that you're going to be sending workers to on this workers' comp plan? How are you going to do that?" And Chucky looked at her and said, "That's a stupid question." "That is the stupidest question I have ever heard. I'm pretty sure my driver could answer it." So that's only half made up, by the way. So I'm supposed to come here and inspire and inform and educate. I always think of the line I heard about adult education, though. Adult education is 90% reminding people of what they know. And so I have to keep that in mind. And as I wandered around today next door, as I've talked to you in the hallways and went out to dinner with some great folks on the team last night, it's clear that you know. probably better than most people around the country. You know, Phil, you said you've been getting a lot of calls. Well, probably because I send them to you. I mean, as I wander around, people ask me, you know, well, who's kind of getting this regional stuff right? I said, well, try Orlando. So you guys got to think about this as Central Florida being a success story and one that other people around the country try to emulate. But, you know, I'm supposed to do a little bit of discussion here. So the smart growth thing, this regional sustainable development thing that I'm involved in a lot with the Alliance for Regional Stewardship, which is under our wing now, and the ARS and the talk about smart growth and regional growth and all these kind of things. You have to remember that smart growth and regional sustainable development are about, they're growth agendas. Now, for some of us, that can be like, oh, God, we got enough people, we got enough buildings, we got enough traffic, we got enough everything. But growth can come in a lot of ways. It can be a growth of prosperity. It can be a growth of wisdom about how to handle our assets and our resources. It can be growth in knowledge and in all kinds of things. So it's a growth agenda. I can never imagine a time, and Jake talked about the ancient days in the 1700s when they started up the chambers in the U.S. It was a growth agenda then. It was a growth agenda when the community, corporate, civic leadership hooked up with the public sector leadership to bring the railroads to parts of the West. It was growth. Now, growth isn't always the same thing, and I understand that. And for some of you, it's different, and it should be. And so that's okay. I think, you know, the big thing we talk about is do nothing today. When we teach this stuff, you know, do nothing today that's going to make it so you can't still be in a growth agenda in the future. That's what sustainable development is. Make it so you're not going to do something that's going to make it so you can't keep growing in the future. And I think that's when you think about smart on environmental and other things, and you think about smart on land use, and you think about smart on people and attraction of talent, it's all about making sure you don't do anything today that goes things up.